A grieving mother, a biological virus, a bomb threat, and a shocking fatal gunshot that just changed Port Charles forever. Welcome back to the channel, you guys. It is an absolutely wild Thursday, and we need to talk about the absolute madness that just went down on General Hospital. Grab your coffee because I am still shaking. And honestly, I have been staring at my screen for the last hour just trying to process what we all just witnessed. I am running on fumes and way too much caffeine, but I could not wait to get my thoughts out to you guys. We have been covering this Jen Sidwell hostage storyline for what feels like decades at this point. Sometimes it dragged, sometimes it felt like we were just running in circles in that Windermere sub-basement. But today the writers decided to cash in every single emotional chip they had on the table. And they did it with Kathleen Gotti, who just delivered a masterclass in grief, rage, and pure soap opera, unhinged brilliance. Let's be real, Liesl Obrecht has always been a wild card, but this episode took her to a completely different stratosphere. So let's rewind just a little bit to set the stage. Last week, we got that devastating scene where Cassius, the man wearing the face of Liesl's beloved deceased son Nathan West, dropped the absolute sickest bomb on her. He told her that Nathan is dead. Not just dead, but cremated. He spread his ashes in the ocean. And Liesl slapped him so hard I felt it through the television screen. I mean, the sheer audacity of Cassius to tell his own mother that he desecrated the memory of the brother she loved so much. It broke her. You could see the light just completely die in her eyes. But here's the thing about Liesl Obrecht. When she breaks, she does not just cry. She schemes. She plots. She destroys. And that brings us to the fake out of the century. After the slap, Liesl suddenly seemed to just give up. She told Jen Sidwell and Ross Cullum that she would cooperate. She agreed to take over Britt Westbourne's role as the lead scientist on Caesar Faison's cold fusion project. Sidwell, being the arrogant, smug kingpin that he is, actually bought it. He thought he had broken her. He thought that by putting her in a cage and threatening her, she would just fall in line and build his little weapon. What was he thinking? Who actually believes this is going to end well when you corner a grieving mother who also happens to be a brilliant, morally ambiguous scientist? Because Liesl was not building a weapon for him. She was building a trap. While she was pretending to diligently work on the cold fusion prototype, she was actually secretly installing a biological virus into the system. Yes, a biological virus. I know. Where did she get the materials? How did she synthesize a virus in a damp basement under a castle? Honestly, I do not know and I do not care. It is General Hospital. We suspend our disbelief for things like weather machines and memory mapping, so I am absolutely willing to roll with a makeshift biological virus. It is so perfectly campy and so perfectly Liesl. She manipulated the tech, she used the lab equipment Cullum brought her, and she turned their prized project into a ticking biological time bomb. But the virus was just phase 1 of her master plan. Phase 2 was getting Jocelyn Jacks out of that hellhole. Jocelyn has been stuck in that cell for what feels like an eternity, dealing with Pascal's taunting and Cassius's creepy presence. Liesl, knowing that everything was about to hit the fan, quietly helped Jocelyn escape. She used her lab access and the distraction of the prototype to get Jocelyn out of the main holding area. The tension in these scenes was absolutely suffocating. I was sitting on the edge of my seat, literally holding my breath as Jocelyn crept through the shadows of the Windermere catacombs. But of course, nothing is ever that easy in Port Charles. Just as Jocelyn is making her move, Ross Cullum walks in. And Cullum is not a man you want to cross. He is lethal, he is massive, and he has zero problem hurting anyone who gets in his way. He catches Liesl in the act of covering for Jocelyn's escape. The physical threat he poses in that moment is terrifying. He grabs her, the alarms are raised, and suddenly the entire escape plan is blown wide open. Jocelyn is somewhere in the tunnels, but Liesl is caught dead to rights. So this kicks off the most breathtaking, anxiety-inducing confrontation we have seen all year. Cullum drags Liesl back into the main sub-basement area, and Jen Sidwell comes marching down the stairs. Sidwell is furious. He is yelling, he is making threats, he is doing his usual villain monologue. And Cassius is there too, looking completely torn and stressed out. But Liesl is not cowering. She is not begging for her life. She is standing there with this terrifying, dead-eyed calm. The lighting in the scene was so dark and moody, casting these crazy shadows on her face. She looked like an absolute demon of vengeance. And then she drops the real bomb. Literally. Liesl looks Sidwell dead in the eye and tells him that if he does not release all the hostages immediately, She is going to detonate the entire island. She claims she has rigged the lab and the sub-basement with explosives tied to the prototype's unstable core. Now, are we really doing the exploding island trope again? Yes. Yes, we are. And I love it. Windermere has blown up before. Cassadine Island has blown up before. It is basically a rite of passage at this point. But this time, it felt so incredibly raw, because it wasn't about world domination. It was about a mother's pure, unfiltered grief. Think about the history here for a second. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger pattern. César Faison ruined Liesl's life. He obsessed over Anna Devane, he treated Liesl like garbage, and his legacy has been nothing but death and destruction. Madeline Reeves, Liesl's own sister, stole Cassius at birth and gave him to Faison, setting off this entire chain of tragic events. Liesl has lost so much. She lost Nathan to Peter August. She is currently losing Britt, who is out there on the run with Rocco Falconeri, suffering from Huntington's disease, completely unaware of the nightmare unfolding back home. Liesl has literally nothing left to lose. The madness of a mother who has lost her child is a force of nature. And Kathleen Gotti played it so perfectly. She was unhinged, laughing this dark, broken laugh. She told Sidwell that she has already lost Nathan, she has already lost Britt to the wind, she has nothing left to live for. She is completely fine with dying in that basement as long as she takes them all to hell with her. And you guys, Jen Sidwell was terrified. Carlo Rhoda is usually so composed as Sidwell, but you could see the actual fear in his eyes. He realized in that moment that all his money, all his power, all his goons mean absolutely nothing against a woman who literally does not care if she lives or dies. But the real tragedy of this scene, the absolute emotional core of it, was Cassius. Cassius was standing there, watching the woman who gave birth to him completely unravel, and he was faced with the ultimate, impossible choice. Sidwell is screaming at him to handle it, to take her out, to secure the lab. Cassius has been brainwashed his entire life by César Faison's organization. He worships the Faison legacy. It is all he knows. But he is also looking at his mother, the woman he just met, the woman whose heart he broke last week when he cruelly detailed how he disposed of his twin brother's ashes. Ryan Paevey's facial expressions in this moment were incredible. You could see the gears turning, the absolute agony of the decision. Does he kill his own birth mother to prove his blind loyalty to a dead criminal mastermind? Or does he finally break the cycle of abuse and trauma that Faison infected him with? He raised his gun. His hands were shaking. The dialogue here was so sparse, just heavy breathing and the sound of the alarms blaring in the background. It was the ultimate standoff between maternal love and blind, toxic loyalty. But here's the thing. Cassius was too slow. He hesitated. Maybe he was going to lower the gun. Maybe I'm being too harsh and he was actually going to turn on Sidwell. We will never know, because Liesl did not hesitate. Before Cassius could make his choice, before things could go any further, Liesl pulled a gun she had hidden in her lab coat. Bang. She shot him. She shot Cassius point blank. Dead. 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 I literally screamed at my TV. I could not believe what I was watching. Liesl Obrecht just shot and killed her own son, the twin of the son she mourned for years. The man wearing Nathan West's face, he hit the stone floor, and the silence in that room after the gunshot was deafening. Even Sidwell and Cullum seemed too stunned to move for a split second. The absolute poetic, gut-wrenching tragedy of it all is just too much to process. Social media is already having an absolute meltdown over this. The fans on Twitter and Threads are completely divided. Some people are furious. They are asking, what were the writers thinking? Why bring Ryan Paevey back? Why introduce this crazy secret twin storyline just to kill him off a few weeks later? They feel like it was a waste of a massive twist. But then there are the fans who think this is peak soap opera drama. They are saying this is the kind of bold, high-stakes storytelling we have been begging for. And honestly, I am leaning toward the latter. Okay, that sounded dramatic, but you get what I mean. It is messy, it is painful, but it is unforgettable television. Think about the psychological damage this is going to do to Liesl. She already felt guilty about Nathan's death. Now she has literally pulled the trigger on his identical twin. How does a character ever come back from that? How does she close her eyes at night without seeing Nathan's face falling to the floor? The writers have essentially destroyed Liesl Obrecht's soul, and while it hurts to watch, it is giving Kathleen Gaddy the material of a lifetime. Give her the Emmy right now. Just hand it to her. So where do we go from here? Sidwell is trapped in a room with a dead body, an unhinged woman holding a gun, a biological virus ticking away in his precious prototype, and a bomb threat hanging over his head. Jocelyn is loose in the Windermere tunnels, probably trying to find a way to contact Carly or Dante. And speaking of Dante, he and the PCPD are completely clueless about the bloodbath that is unfolding on Spoon Island right now. The pacing of the show right now is just breakneck. We are barely getting a chance to breathe before the next massive shocker drops. I am honestly so exhausted from this episode, but I cannot wait to see what happens tomorrow. Will Liesl actually blow up the island? Will Cullum take her out before she gets the chance? And what is Jocelyn going to do now that she is out of the cell? We have so many questions and zero answers. But that is why we watch, right? We love the pain, we love the chaos, and we love this show. I need to go lie down and process the fact that Cassius is officially dead. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Were you as shocked as I was? Drop your theories below, and I will see you all back here tomorrow for another recap. Stay safe out there, Port Charles fans.